Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Allahumma salli ala Sidina Muhammad Fatih lima khliq wa lima sabakana aslil haq bihaq wal hadi ila siratul mustaqim wa ala alihi daril azim. I am Khalid Ajmain from South Ilahi. When I was very young, maybe around the age of 8 or 9, my school had an excursion. We visited an old folks home to visit the elderlies and to do some charity work with them. When I was around 8 or 9 years old in primary school, I had the experience of visiting old folks home, one part of our excursion. And what we had was doing some charity work, like helping the elderlies, to be with them and to learn about what they're doing, and in other way, it's part of the community work that we were nurtured when we were very young at that time. And at that point of time, I realized that what I see was that my thoughts and idea of loneliness is that people who are alone by themselves, and they may not have family, or they may not have friends at all, or they've been abandoned by their children or their family. And that was what I had. And later on in my life, as I was growing up, maybe around 13 and 14 years old, I was starting to mix with my neighborhood friends. We start to identify ourselves as in a group of friendship, bonds of brotherhood. Again, I reflect like, being alone is not something interesting, and we often find loneliness as a taboo. And then when I reached 15 and 16, I begin to mix around in the music circle, the hardcore scene, and we go gigs, we play bands, and we thought that was our life, that was our identity. And sometimes when I was alone at that age, I felt left out. Like, sometimes some of my friends, they may be busy with their other activities, life activities or family activities, so they may not be able to meet me or hang out with me. And I felt like, wow, alone. But looking at it in a different angle today, I realized like a lot of us thought like loneliness is being alone by ourselves. When I reached at the age of 21 and when my father died, loneliness becomes something that is different for me. It becomes something that is often described, from what I know today, as an inward journey, something to do with my soul. I was reflecting deeply about the death of my father, so much that I was looking into the grave. I was thinking like, reflecting upon the life in the grave, and how is he going to face the life in the grave. So I start to read Yasin, I start to learn, I found Sufism, I met a lot of Sufi Sheikh, and also some of the Ustads back then, and start to learn about the knowledge of the religion. And at the same time, my mom, I realized that she had she had a new routine in her life. All of us grew up, we were 21, 22, 23, we start working, we start to have our own life. My sister and I, we were rarely at home. So my mom, despite being alone, she was one of those people who is in the beginning, who taught me what is the reality of loneliness. And I saw and learned from her. And one of the things that I learned from her was that when she was alone, she was doing zikrullah. And she was doing Ya Latif, Ya Latif. And mind you that, at that point of time we were working, and then we went to Majlis Zikir, or we attend classes. Usually we reach home late, like 11 or 12 midnight. And I always saw her on the chair. and she was just doing, zikir and non-stop after Solat Isha. Usually her routine will start after Solat Isha. So from there I observe like how she grew strength even though she was alone. And then later on I met some sheikh, the late Sheikh Zakaria Bagharib and all that. Then I attended Majlis Zikir, and I realized like how the soul has a strength, or we call it like a spiritual immunity that empower us in this life to go through the hardship, trials and tribulation. So when I went through that phase to where I am today, which is now I'm 42, I realized that a lot of times in these generations, a lot of young people, they sort of not knowing what is loneliness or what means to be alone. Because these people, I realize that they also are not alone. They are with their friends, they are with their family, they're in a group, but yet again they deprived of something. They felt something is void. And that's how I discovered my journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through my yearning and searching along the years, along the trials, and sort of, fall and stumble upon myself, the mistake that I did, that how can I not realize that my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is through my heart, and it's not only in my salat, it's not only in my zikir, in salawat, because everything connects to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inwardly and outwardly, and whether you are in salat and not in salat. And that's what the zikrullah create that space in your heart, and to be in a state of enlightenment, in which that no money can buy that happiness, or no money can give you that relief. Because when you say Ya Latif, like how my late mother used to read, and she doesn't fear the darkness, she doesn't fear being alone, she doesn't fear the hardship, and therefore your identity is actually through your soul. It is your connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah created this soul for us to be able to connect to Him in such a way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want us for Himself. But we sometimes are unable to see that, because we see what is in the outward appearances, like friends, family, which is nothing wrong, because these are the people that is also from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But in reality, who are you and what are you is actually from the state of your soul. Because at the end of your life, without your soul, you're just a body, you can't move it. So who are you and what are you? So this loneliness, sometimes when you don't understand what you're going through in life, find that stillness in you through zikrullah and salawat and your salat. Because the salawat and this zikr and salawat, it will enhance your salat. It will give a profound inner meaning of your salat, to the point that you realize that you are worshipping Allah and nothing exists except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore, don't ever think that if you are being yourself, you are being deprived of friendship or companionship. Because sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make people alone by themselves so that they can muhasabah, so that they can zikrullah, they can have that, mute that their internal dialogue, in the sense that their soul is speaking through the zikrullah and the salawat. So alhamdulillah, never ever think you're alone, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself says that wherever you turn, I'm there. And whoever remember me, I remember him. And remember me day, evening and night. And whoever remember me, their hearts will find tranquility. So alhamdulillah, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to realize that everything that He had given us is a moment or an opportunity for us to know Him, even though we are being alone.